Trigger warning. The following podcast contains content that may be deeply disturbing. You will hear first-hand accounts from parents and family members who have lost children to filicide, the murder of a child by a parent or caregiver. These stories are raw, emotional, and shared from the perspective of those who have lived them. They include details of unimaginable loss, system failures, and trauma. Please take care while listening. If at any point you need to pause, stop, or step away, we understand. Welcome back to Voices Against Filicide. I'm your host, Hope Hooton, a mother who has walked this journey and an advocate turning my pain into purpose. This podcast sheds light on filicide cases, statistics, who these children were, and the advocacy being done in their honor, and so much more. Together, we speak the truth, honor their lives, and fight for change. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment to honor two of the brightest lights I've ever known, my own children, Alec and Lydia. Alec with his love of Pokemon and his kind heart, and Lydia with her joyful personality and love of unicorns. They were more than my whole world. They were joy in human form. Their laughter, their hugs, their imaginations, all of it lives on in me and in this podcast and in the work I do every day to protect children and raise awareness. This podcast is for them. It's for every child whose voice was silenced too soon. Alec and Lydia, you are my why, and I will never stop fighting in your name. Thank you for joining me today, and let's get right into the episode. Today's episode is deeply personal and vital. I lived in an abusive environment for years. If you're listening and recognize even a part of this in yourself, please remember, it is not your fault. You did not deserve this, and you cannot change an abuser by loving them harder. In this episode, we'll explore the cycle of abuse, what keeps victims trapped, learned helplessness, and codependency, as well as the often overlooked but chilling link between domestic violence and filicide. How to recognize these patterns and how to escape them safely with resources at the end. The cycle of abuse. Dr. Leonore Walker first described this cycle in 1979, and it's still central in domestic violence education. There are 4 phases in the abuse cycle. First, the tension and building phase. You walk on eggshells. In my life, that meant being told I couldn't spend money, even on small things. We'd share plates at restaurants, and I'd have to ask to do anything financially. He would make sure that I went to bed and woke up on specific times. He would make sure I worked out. He would make sure one time we would drink soda and the next month we wouldn't. He would use manipulation, gaslighting, and other tactics to keep me in the cycle. Then there's the incident and explosion phase. The abuse erupts. I was punched in places, hidden from sight, had objects thrown at me, and was forced to clean up a mess that I didn't make. Sometimes he would brandish weapons at me or even throw objects at me that would put bruises or cuts on my skin. reconciliation, and the honeymoon phase. He would apologize. Abusers give sweet words or promises. I'm sorry, I'll change. It feels like love until the cycle restarts. The calm. Things feel normal. You might question if it was as bad as it felt. And then the cycle repeats, often faster and worse, over and over and over again. After enduring repeated abuse, many survivors feel powerless to change anything. This is actually called learned helplessness. You might think maybe if I just change myself, that's learned helplessness. A state where you believe nothing you do will help. It's not your fault. It's a learned survival response backed by research. So, when your brain goes through these abuse cycles over and over again, your brain starts to understand no matter what I do, I can't change this situation. So, your brain and your body just learn to adapt and to deal with it. And that's called learned helplessness. They actually have done research on this where they take animals and they give them a treat. And when they go out of their cage to get the treat, they get zapped. And so they often try to go get the treat at first by getting zapped and getting zapped and getting zapped. Well, then they put the treat down and the animals don't move because they know that they're going to continuously get zapped, so they just stay in place. Codependency. This is when your sense of self and worth is tangled up in the abuser's needs. You feel responsible for fixing them, feeling guilty for wanting to leave, and may believe your identity hinges on loving them. But abusers don't change because you try harder. They're never going to change. Why, as victims, we can't just simply leave? This is a misconception. The amount of times I hear, why didn't they just leave? Because we can't. Leaving is often the most dangerous time. Some key whys as to why this is happening: fear of retaliation, losing of your children, or being harmed. So often abusers will use the children as a weapon, meaning they will gaslight you so much so that if you leave, they'll say things like, well, I'll call the police on you and tell them how crazy you are, or I will call CPS and tell them how you harm our children, when that isn't the case. But they are so manipulative that your brain starts to think that that's reality. And so you are frozen by fear because you're scared that whatever evidence they might have, the other people might believe them instead of believing you. And so that is a real fear. This happened to me. The gaslighting in my marriage before I left was insane. But there's a line that you cross that you, like, at least with me, my brain kind of like switched on again. And I started to realize that the stuff he was saying was just all things to keep me in the relationship. It wasn't true. And so the other thing is fear of retaliation. We're always scared of what they might do to us, right? So not, yes, physically, right? Physically harming us, but also like, how they might treat us psychologically if we come back or if we end up leaving, And so like researchers say, and people who are in this field, they often say that this is the most dangerous time to leave an abusive relationship or a marriage. So make sure that you have a plan in place, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. The next part is isolation, either emotional, financial, social. All of these aspects are isolation. So they start cutting off all of your friendships, all of your family relationships, right? They start to make you believe that that person is acting that way because it's on them, instead of, in my situation, we had a lot of friends and stuff that stopped coming around. Now I understand this. They stopped coming around because of him, not because of me and because of the way I acted, but because of him. But he would put it on me and say that they stopped coming around because of the way I acted and the way I perceived situations, which was not true. Financial abuse, like I said, he or she would make it so you have to ask for financial approval before doing anything, whether that's buying a food product at the store or a shirt or something that you might need for work. Everything was dictated by whether he approved or she approved. This went for the same thing with isolation, like I said, with family and friends. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process. So you don't even realize that the isolation is happening until it's too late. Shame. It can feel embarrassing or disloyal to admit abuse. This is huge. This is why abusees don't tattle or tell on their abusers, because one, they want to protect them, and it's that trauma bonding experience. And two, they are embarrassed that they're in this situation and they want help, but they don't know how to get it because they're embarrassed. And so that's the hardest thing for me. I didn't say anything was wrong as far as abuse until I left him. I did tell a friend earlier, several months prior, that I possibly might want a divorce, but I didn't say anything about abuse. I didn't say anything about any sort of domestic violence until the day that I actually left. And that was quite shocking for family and friends because they had no idea anything was happening. Believing the next apology will be the last. That's not true. There's always going to be another cycle. It repeats. That's why it's called a cycle. It's a circle. There's no end to it. It just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. The link between domestic violence and filicide. This is central to Voices Against Filicide, our podcast. The link between the two is super high. This is something that, as someone who might be listening right now, you have to understand, is that even though your abuser might be abusing you, if there's children in the relationship or marriage, they're also being abused. They might not be being abused physically, but they're always being abused psychologically, emotionally, because they're getting gaslit too. They're being asked to pick sides. Often, a child in a marriage or relationship is used as a pawn. In my situation, they would often have to pick sides, whether they want to, be on mom's side today and comfort her because she's upset, or they want to be on dad's side because they could tell even as little children, what side to pick that day based on, dad's mood. So that's super important. I want to give you some statistics. In Australia, an 8-year study from 2010 to 2018 found in 9 out of 10 filicide cases domestic violence was present. Fathers were the perpetrators in 2/3 of those cases. Often separation or custody disputes are triggers. 31% of filicide cases involved separation, many within 3 months prior. International research echoes this. Paternal filicide is frequently motivated by vengeance or control lost through separation or divorce. Remember, often with people who are the perpetrators in domestic violence, they have an imbalance of mental illness, right? Just like there's a connection with filicide perpetrators, they're often one and the same, right? If you're an abuser, you have usually a chemical imbalance within your brain that is making you be this way. I don't believe that anyone is born an abuser. I believe that this is something that might have some learned narcissistic traits from childhood, and then compounded onto that some mental health struggles as well. And so that's why these are often linked. And as you can see, that's what the research tells us. So please make sure, if any of this is resonating with you, that you make a safe plan to get out. Contact a victim's advocate. You can find victims advocates at your local police department. And if your local police department is a smaller department, you can call that non-emergency police department phone number, which every police department has a regular phone number that's not emergency. You can call them and ask them if they have a victim's advocate. If they do not have one at their specific police department, they will refer you to a police department in your area that does. These victims advocates work with specific people just like yourself. So they are used to victims of domestic violence. They help you with resources of might having to get a place to live, or food, or a homeless shelter, or a women's shelter. Women's shelters can often accompany children. Some of them often also you can bring your pets along. It just depends. Victims advocates can also help you with personal protection orders. From my personal experience, I contacted a victims advocate. She went with me to the courthouse and sat with me as I completed the paperwork for the personal protection order. They can sit with you. They know how to articulate what you are going through in a way that gets the point across to the judge, so that it's not just rambling, but it has a clear, concise beginning, middle, and end to it, so the judge can see the full picture of the scale of what's going on, so that if you need a personal protection order for your safety, that can be put in place, and that victim's advocate can help with that. They can often help with legal support as well. They have contacts with specific attorneys for a low cost, and some of them, there's programs out there that do pro bono work that will do their services for free. I have had friends in my past that have used these services. So these services are out there. You just need to get in contact, like I said, with your local police department, ask for victims advocate, and then they can go from there and let you know what supports they provide. Pack an emergency bag. Always have an emergency bag ready to go. Clothes, medication, toiletries, paperwork, birth certificate, social security cards, immunization records, driver's license, extra money stashed away in cash, or you can have a bank account that's separate at a completely different bank so that they can't even access it, and oftentimes they don't even know that you have that second account. So please make sure that you have a to-go bag, an emergency bag with you. Keep it safe. Keep it in a hidden place in your home or with someone that you might know that knows about the situation. They can keep it with them. Know who to call. Memorize or write down a trusted person's number or a hotline that knows exactly how to help you. Identify a safe space. Have a prearranged secure location to go to if you must leave quickly. Often also tell your kids, if they're old enough, what is going on. You need to make sure that they are aware. Alec and Lydia were only 5 and 7 years old when I separated. But in the throes of everything that was going on, specifically with my estranged husband's mental state, I made sure that they knew that if they needed to leave the house, they needed to run next door to the neighbors and knock on the door, and the neighbor would let them into the house to keep them safe. And the neighbor knew that as well. I had neighbors on both sides of me that knew that if Alec and Lydia ran to their house and knocked on their door to let them in, and Alec and Lydia didn't have to say anything to them, they just knew where to go. And so if your kids are old enough, make sure that they know. Don't scare them, but don't leave them in the dark, because they need to be aware of what's going on and what to do in a case of an emergency, right? Because you want to keep not only yourself safe, but also your children. Here are some resources, so please listen to these. There is the U.S. National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can call them at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Or text the word START to 88788. You can go to domesticshelters.org for local shelter listings and advocacy programs as well. That is domesticshelters.org. Seek out victims advocate programs in your area, like I said, by calling your local police department. If you are outside of the U.S., search for domestic violence hotlines by putting in domestic violence hotline and then your specific country, or visit global directories like ANROWS, that's ANROWS in Australia. In closing, you didn't cause this, you don't deserve this, and it is not your job to fix it. Abuse won't stop because you love harder. Abuse won't stop because there's apologies. Abuse won't stop because there's children involved. Please tell someone you trust, reach out for help, and make a safe plan to get out safely. For the sake of yourself and for the sake of your child or children. There is hope beyond this. You deserve peace, freedom, and safety. In closing, thank you for joining me today on Voices Against Filicide. I'm your host, Hope Hooton. If this episode moved you, and if you found it helpful, please share it. Please be that person that helps someone who needs it in their darkest of times. Please give them these resources to help them leave a scary, sometimes hopeless situation. Be that helping hand they need. If you want more information on our Voices Against Filicide community, please find us on our community page at voicesagainstfilicide.odoo.com, and follow me at Hope in the Pain on all social media platforms. If you also have a filicide story, you can share your story on our community page by clicking on the Filicide Stories tab. Thank you so much, and remember, always be kind and abound in hope.